Hello, I'm CJ Grace, and my presentation today is Taming the Emotional Roller Coaster. So, why did I work out how to tame the emotional roller coaster? This is my story. I was living a charmed life. I had a dream job as a BBC reporter. I was meeting celebrities, politicians, people with their pulse on world affairs. And all these fascinating people were coming my way who were making their mark on the world. And then, I had a transfer to work for China Radio International in Beijing as a journalist advisor. And that was so exciting. And when I was there, I had a fairy tale falling in love with an American that I met. And if you fast forward 25 years later, best wedding anniversary ever. We'd had our ups and downs, every marriage does, but it was great. We were in Hawaii, where we had a second home, and I really felt like I was living in the land of the gods. Fate and fortune had smiled upon me. Little did I know that just 2 years later, both my marriage and my health would be in tatters. Because I found out that my husband was carrying on an affair with a woman half his age, and he wasn't willing to give her up. And shortly after that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer for the second time. I was carrying one of those genes similar to the one that Angelina Jolie saw as a death sentence, the BRCA gene. A little gift from my ancestors. It's a shame I didn't inherit my grandfather's ability to paint, because he was a fabulous artist. And that would have been a nice thing to inherit. No, I didn't inherit that. I inherited the BRCA gene from one of my relatives. I'm not exactly sure who. So I had suddenly entered this brave and terrifying new world. I felt like the ground had been kicked away from under my feet. And so how did I deal with it? At the time, I was devastated. I just didn't know what to do. But I developed a 6-part plan to get through it. And it wasn't like I thought, yes, I need a 6-part plan, that'll sort me out. Yes, that'll do. No, I just evolved in this way. I worked out step by step how to get through it. And it's a plan that got me through both breast cancer and infidelity, and it would be useful for dealing with any kind of adversity. And one thing I'll say, I've got 6 parts in this plan, but the order really doesn't matter. The order is pretty arbitrary, and it's not like you finish one thing and then you move on to the next, and then you go on to the next, and by number 6 you're done. You really work on a lot of these things simultaneously, and you may choose to be starting at number 5 or number 3 instead of number 1. But the first thing I did was to find confidants and mentors who had my best interests at heart. And that was really important, because you need to be able to process those horrible emotions that you are going through when you have any kind of adversity, particularly to do with abuse or adultery or health problems that are really rocking your world and making you wonder whether you are even going to survive, say. You really need people to be able to talk to about that. And a confidant or a mentor is not the same as a friend. They can be friends, but they're really more than friends, because you can share your deepest, darkest secrets with them. Some people would benefit from a paid counselor to do that, to be able to talk about their emotions. Some people benefit from writing it all down, journaling everything, to get it out as a way to throw out the garbage, write it down, and then maybe it's gone. Other people who aren't so into writing may find the idea of journaling not to be such a good idea. But for somebody who likes to write their thoughts down, that's that's definitely a way to process the emotions. If you do it on a computer that you are sharing with your unfaithful husband, though, for instance, you do want to password protect that file, and maybe give it a very innocuous name, like maybe quilting tips or something like that, so that you don't find your deepest, darkest thoughts are spied upon by somebody else. But confidants and mentors are very, very important. And it's a good idea to really take care in choosing them. These need to be people who have your best interests at heart and can provide you with good advice and will keep the information confidential. I had to fire one of the confidants I had initially because I later found out that really he was just interested in the latest episode of the soap opera that was my life, and would write about it in emails to our mutual friends. Not what I wanted. So I decided to no longer confide in that particular individual, who shall remain nameless. So that's confidants and mentors, very important. And it is a way of processing, as I said, those emotions and helping yourself get through them. If you do this with friends who aren't really confidants and you're just constantly going on about how bad you feel, you may find that some of your friends do not want to deal with that and draw away from you. So you really have to choose those confidants very, very carefully. And I also found it very useful to have both male and female confidants because you get such different views, particularly for me when I was dealing with infidelity. You get a very different view from a male than you would from a female. And it's incredibly useful to have those insights from both sexes. The second thing that I did, which is related, was to rebuild my community of friends. I had found that almost all the friends and people I socialized with while I was married were connected to my husband's business, the business that we shared together, or they were friends of his or mutual friends. And those aren't people that, if you are having problems, say, in a relationship, you really want to confide in or talk to about those things. And for example, if a lot of your social connections are also professional connections, you have to be very careful about talking about your personal issues to people that you are working with, because it is not a very professional thing to do, and you may find that you damage your professional standing by doing that. So I found that I had let go of all the friends I'd had before marriage, which was a big mistake. I hadn't done it intentionally. There was one woman who was a great friend of mine from Britain. She'd sent me a load of emails, and I hadn't bothered to respond. And the reason why was because I was all busy taking care of the joint business we had, taking care of the 2 children we had, taking care of the house, ministering to my husband. I didn't really make time for my friends. And she actually thought that she had done something to offend me because I hadn't responded. So that was a wake-up call for me to go back and revisit all my friends and connections. Friends, old boyfriends, I left no stone unturned because I wanted to rebuild my connections, not our connections, my connections. And that was important. And I've also wanted to have both old and new friends. You really want to have a strong community, and that will help you through any kind of adversity, and it helps you take your mind off it because you hang out with people that are fun, that care about you, that you can do fun things with, so that you aren't constantly churning all of the horrible things that you've been through. And that brings me on to my third point. The third one is really important for me because I was brought up on a diet of Monty Python, and I tend to see absurd humor in everything. And my view is, if you don't laugh, you cry, because so many things about life are really pretty dark and not that great. But you have to see the light in things. You have to see the absurdity in things. Because even if life is a cosmic joke at your own expense, you still need to laugh, because it's so much better to laugh than to cry. And I found that I was not even, for example, I'm a BBC journalist, always followed the news, and that was just part of who I was. When I went through both the infidelity of my ex, and breast cancer, the last thing I wanted to do was to listen to the news. Because when you look at the news, it's pretty much all bad news. You know, you've got your community, nothing's happened, everybody's happy, things are going pretty well. That's not news, it's boring. Nobody's going to be reporting on that. And all you're going to hear about, oh, here's a murder, here's a war, and look at these terrible things happening, and these horrible politicians and their corruption. And I mean, all that is not going to make you feel better. It'll make you feel, oh, God, no, and oh, life's so bad. You don't need that when you're going through adversity. You need things that bring you up. I remember a story, very tragic story, a woman that I heard about who had lost a child in an accident. How terrible is that? Her child had died, and she found that she just could not get out of the bereavement year after year. And one of the problems that she had was that she would listen to the news, she would watch the news, and whenever there was a death of a child in the news, it would make her relive what she went through. Whenever there were any issues that affected children in the news, she was so empathetic that it would bring back all those horrible feelings. So the solution was not to watch the news, was not to watch that stuff, and not to have her mind drawn back to these horrible, horrible things that had happened to her. So that's what I did. I stopped watching the news. I remember one friend invited me to go and see Wild, by that movie with Reese Witherspoon, where she's going down the Pacific Trail and trying to overcome her problems with depression. And it's apparently a really good movie. But the last thing I wanted when I was going through both infidelity and breast cancer and feeling pretty down was to watch a film about depression. No, I didn't need that. I wanted comedies. I wanted things that were going to make me laugh and bring me up and take me out of that dark feeling. So I liked comedies, sci-fi. I remember watching Guardians of the Galaxy and really enjoying that, except for that one horrible scene, if you know the movie, where the lead character's mother is chemo bald, just like I was at the time, and dying of cancer. That scene I could have done without, but the rest of the movie was really great, and it just, for the 2 hours or so that I was watching it, I forgot about my circumstances, and that was great. That was really good. So laughter therapy is very, very important, and you want to choose friends, for instance, who make you laugh, and people who bring you up, and you want to see the joy and the funny things in life. At this event, we've already had a wonderful presentation from a stand-up comedian, and she showed you exactly how you can make laughter out of something difficult, and that's really important, very important. And in fact, most of the points that I'm going to be making today are ones that you can find out more about how to do them from these other wonderful presenters at the event today, at the Amplifying Voices for Women's Empowerment. So I will give a shameless plug here for you to donate the $99 Canadian, which is way less than the American dollars, because I think it's only 80 cents American for $1 Canadian. So it's not very much. So if you shell out 99 Canadian dollars, you will have 1 year's access to the entire presentation. And you will find people who are talking about in more detail a lot of the points that I'm raising in my 6-part plan. So I have talked about confidants and mentors, number one. I've talked about building a community of your own friends who are not connected to your partner or anybody else. And I've talked about laughter therapy. And again, thank you, Mariana Santiago, for your great presentation on that. The next point is love your body and become beautiful. And by that I mean I did not learn how to become a supermodel in 2 weeks. I don't think I'm ever going to be anything close to a supermodel. I meant becoming beautiful inside and loving your body enough to take very good care of it. And when you're going through tough times, it's easy to just not bother. You don't sleep enough, you don't eat right, you don't bother to move and exercise. Those are so important, so incredibly important to lift your mood, to make you feel better, to make you move on to a better place. So obviously, getting enough sleep is important. I don't know if any of you have read Arianna Huffington's book, The Sleep Revolution, where she talks about chronic sleep deprivation being a bigger problem almost than alcoholism or anything else, because the effects on your body are just as bad if you don't sleep enough. So it's easy to not sleep, to stay up late. You need to really make sure you get enough sleep when you're going through something difficult. You need to get enough sleep whether or not you're going through something difficult. The other thing is diet. You've got this horrible stereotype of a depressed woman, something awful has happened to her, and there she is, lying in bed, spooning ice cream from the carton, and watching TV. And that is not going to make your mood better. That's not going to get you out of that horrible lethargic doldrums. The final thing in this point is exercise. I found that outdoor exercise was absolutely key. Outdoor exercise really brought up my mood, and I was, making the point of going out every day in nature, and it was really good. Any type of exercise actually is helpful. Moving your body, dancing on your own, all of it is helpful. One friend came to me who was having problems with depression, and she was just not even willing to go out. She didn't want to do anything at all. And I said, look, if you do one thing, force yourself to go out in nature for 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. Everywhere has at least a local park or open space, somewhere with trees, and just go out and go for a walk. Maybe go for a walk with friends, even more fun, Make a point of every single day making 15 minutes to go out for a walk. And she said it was huge for her. It made a big, big difference in helping her get out of depression. So exercise is absolutely key, especially outdoor exercise. So the next thing that I did was to try to find my passion and become more of a hedonist. And I don't mean, running around naked and taking tons of recreational drugs or any of that horrible stuff. That's not really my thing at all. I mean making time to do things I enjoyed. So many women get really drawn into what we call in Britain the Protestant ethic, where you have your nose to the grindstone, you're always working, there's always something you need to do, you just focus your entire effort on that. And so many women in marriages focus their entire life on ministering to their husbands, working with their husband's business, whatever it is. They're not enjoying their own space, they're not enjoying things themselves. That is so important. Think back to what you really enjoyed. Maybe you played a musical instrument at high school that you've let go. Maybe there's a cause that you really believe in that you could volunteer for. And the other side of this is that if you are involved in activities that you really enjoy, they are a way of meeting new people who are kindred spirits, because they're also liking the same things that you like. Even if it's something like playing the banjo, go and play the banjo and go and join a group or whatever. It doesn't mean you have to give up your day job and think that you're going to make your money playing the banjo. Not necessarily. No, I'm sorry, I can't say that you could. But make the time. However busy you are, there's always time that you can make for yourself. Think about, say, how much time you might spend watching television or looking at stuff on the phone or posting on Facebook or whatever. That's not necessarily helping your spirit grow. You really want to do things that you enjoy, that make you feel creative, that make you feel like you've got a reason to get up in the morning. That's what you want. Very important. So, the final point on my list is that the past is gone, the future doesn't exist, and you only have the now. That's all you have. When you think about it, so many people, whether they've been through adversity or not, aren't really living in the present. They're thinking about what they did in the past. And if you're not happy with your life as it is at the moment because of things that have happened to you, you wonder, well, would it have been different if I'd have done it that way? And what if that would have happened? And if I had said that, then maybe this wouldn't have happened. And well, and things were so great then, and now they're not. And so you get into this what if and nostalgia, and it doesn't really serve you because it's all gone. Whatever has happened in the past doesn't exist. It doesn't exist at all. It's gone. And the other thing that people do is that they worry about the future. Well, if we're getting divorced, how am I going to live? And what about money? And with all this COVID stuff going on, am I going to be able to have a job? And am I going to be able to travel? And am I going to get sick with this stuff? And how am I going to manage? And, you can just drive yourself completely crazy just worrying about the future. But the future doesn't exist. It's an imagination in your mind. It's not there. And what you have to focus on is the now, because it's all you've got. And I'm not saying that you don't plan for the future and make things work for you. I mean, it's not like, for example, if you take the example of squirrels, squirrels are not worrying about the past and they're not worrying about the future. Do they remember the past? I don't know. But, I don't really think they're churning about what they did yesterday, and they're not worrying about what might happen tomorrow. But that doesn't stop them gathering nuts for the winter. They're still in their little squirrel minds thinking, oh, I need to be prepared for the winter, so I better gather some nuts. So yeah, I mean, living in the present doesn't mean ignoring the future. It just means focusing on what's right in front of your nose. And it's so important. It's actually the most difficult thing in my 6-part plan, but it is really important. Because if you're not living in the present, you're not really living, you're just existing. And that is not something that you are born to do. You're born to enjoy life. You're born to create. You're born to be the full, authentic you that you should be. So that, for instance, you can take an event, just to give you an example. Say that there's a wonderful party that you've been invited to, and you and your friend, you've both been invited to this fabulous party. The people are great, wonderful to talk to. The food is fabulous. There's great music, and people are dancing and having fun. Now, you've just found out about, like me, say, having breast cancer, and your partner's unfaithful and isn't willing to give up the girlfriend, and nope, and you're probably facing a separation and a divorce. And your friend has just been offered a wonderful new job, really happy, and has a great boyfriend that's just asked her to marry him, and she's really in good spirits. You're feeling like crap. She's in great spirits. Who's going to have a better time at that party? Who's going to enjoy it more? Will it be the same party for both people? It won't. It'll be a completely different experience. Totally different experience. So that your reality is really created by your own mind. That is such a stark example that your reality is created by your own mind. It's to do with the attitude in your head, because that will determine whether you enjoy what's in front of your face or whether you don't. And it's very well worth thinking about that, to try to work out a way to be the person that enjoys life, not the person that doesn't. You know, imagine going on a wonderful sunset walk in the ocean, by the ocean. Beautiful. But if you're walking along the beach and your mind is full of your troubles and your worries, are you going to notice the sunset? Are you going to notice how beautiful everything looks? You probably won't. And you're missing out on something that could be a wonderful experience. And the aim of this 6-part plan that I have is to become more complete, creative, and joyful, with or without a partner. Because you need to be complete in yourself to let in the best kind of relationship. And if you're feeling very needy and very down, you aren't going to be attracting the kinds of people that would be best for you. Imagine it on the other side. You're looking at different people that you might want to date. Who are you going to be more attracted to? Someone that's sort of depressed and complaining about their life and not really very happy? Or somebody that's really enthusiastic, making jokes and making you laugh and seeming like they're comfortable in their own skin and not worrying about anything? Who would you find more attractive of those two people? It's an obvious selection, isn't it? So you want to be the person that feels complete in your own skin, that can be creative and joyful. And if you feel like you need a partner to complete you, then that's a hell of a burden on the other person. And that also means that you're not going to be, as I said, attracting somebody who is going to be a good complement to you rather than a crutch. So that's a really important thing to think about. Well, what I've been promising here was a treat. This talk is a treat because it involves chocolate, and that definitely is a treat. And as a recovering chocoholic, I have to say that the chocolate mindfulness exercise that I'm going to go into is one of my favorites. And it's amazing that there is still 1 or 2 of those Lindor chocolates left in the bag, because when I get those, I have a hard time not eating the whole lot up. So let me go and get my chocolate and I'll show it to you. Here it is. Shameless product placement, but look how well it matches what I'm wearing. Perfect. But I do prefer the dark chocolate ones. So anybody who wants the milk chocolate or the plain chocolate, not the milk chocolate or the white chocolate ones, if I could give them to you, I would, because I'm not really keen on white chocolate. I don't believe that white chocolate is really chocolate as a sort of real chocolate aficionado, but I do like dark chocolate. So this exercise, I'm sorry I didn't invent it. I wish I could claim that, but I can't, because it was developed in England, I believe, and they actually use it in schools. So school children use it to learn how to focus on the present moment, which is a great idea. Mindfulness training in primary schools in Britain. Great. So if kids can do this exercise, so can you. And all you need is 1 wrapped piece of chocolate candy. Hershey's Kiss, Lindor, Lindt, Truffle, whatever is your fancy. So you take that, and the first thing that you have to do is to sit comfortably in a chair and relax. So let's do that. It might be a good idea to close your eyes for some of it. I'm not going to do that because it might be hard for me to do this exercise if my eyes were closed, going through it with you. So the first thing you do is sit comfortably and relax. And you want to have your back straight and comfortable. You want to try to sink all your tension down from the top of your head, down your body, and if your feet can touch the ground in your chair, down into the ground. You want to let all that tension and all of that stress sink down as if it's like a little waterfall going down the front of your body and the back of your body, so that every place that that waterfall goes by is taking away a little bit of the tension and the stress, so that it all drops down to the ground. Imagine it all dissolving away down your body into the ground. And that's how you start this. You want to be relaxed. Just take a moment to do that. From the top of your head, dissolve all of that stress and tension down like a waterfall going down your body, all the way down from your feet into the ground. And the next thing you do is to put the chocolate in your open hand. Try and have it so you can see it. So you put the chocolate in your hand and you pay attention to how it's wrapped. You look at the color and the shape. Notice how the weight feels in your palm. Feel the texture of the wrapper with your fingers. Imagine that this is the very first time you've ever seen a chocolate like this. So you're looking at it carefully. You're feeling it in your palm, feeling the weight, feeling the texture of the wrapper. Look at the color. Look at the shape. Feel the texture. And if you find your mind wanders when I'm doing this exercise, just bring it back. Don't beat yourself up if you've got other thoughts. Just drop them away and get back to the exercise. Now the next step is to unwrap the chocolate. And at this point, be mindful of exactly what your fingers and your arms are doing in order to remove that packaging. Listen to those sounds of the chocolate being unwrapped. That's why Lindor truffle is a really good one to use, because it's nice and crinkly. A Hershey's Kiss wouldn't quite do this. So, the next step is to put the chocolate to your nose and slowly inhale. Very nice. I will warn you not to actually put it right on your nose, because you might end up with chocolate stains all over it. And that's not necessarily the point of this exercise. And I certainly don't want to do that because I would look very silly in this video if I had chocolate all over my face. Slowly inhale. Just notice how that chocolate smells. And if you start feeling impatient here, thinking about how you want to eat the chocolate, just be aware of those thoughts and bring your attention back to focusing on how the chocolate smells. Maybe you'll start salivating because you want that chocolate in your mouth. Perhaps some emotions will arise. Be aware of all these feelings. Now, the next step is to put the piece of chocolate in your mouth and notice how it feels and tastes. But don't swallow any of it yet. So you leave it on your tongue and focus on how the chocolate feels there. I couldn't have it on my tongue when I was saying that because I wouldn't have been able to talk to you. You'll notice how the consistency of the chocolate changes as it melts. And just be aware of all of those sensations, how it feels in your mouth, the texture, the taste, the changing consistency. You have all the sensations of the inside of your mouth, your tongue, and the chocolate as you're moving it around in your mouth. And the final part is to notice the moment when you feel like you want to swallow the chocolate. But make sure you really taste it properly first. You'll feel it melting on your tongue. And now it's all gone. So, this exercise teaches you to be mindful of all 5 of your senses as you're eating the chocolate. Sight, sound, smell, touch or feeling, and of course, taste. So now you can choose to no longer mindlessly gobble down candies without even tasting them. Admit it, you've done that. We all have. I remember doing it, especially when I'm in a lousy mood. So you can instead choose to savor whatever it is you're putting in your mouth. And why not do that? Why not enjoy it? Because that's what this exercise is about. It's not just becoming more mindful. It's learning how to enjoy what's right there in front of your nose. It needs to be pleasurable, full of good sensations. And that's what this exercise does. And mindfully eating chocolate is just one small step on the path to living in the present. And the more you practice mindfulness in all aspects of your life, especially daily life, you'll be able to stay in the present rather than drift somewhere else. And the more fully alive you will feel. And it's a great state of mind to work towards. So next time you think you feel like eating a little bit of chocolate, why not do this exercise as you're doing it? Why not try to eat your chocolate as a mindfulness exercise? I think that it will definitely boost your mood and help you learn how to become more focused on the present. It's a lesson that all of us need, whatever adversity we've been through, whether we've been through adversity or not. It's really important to be living in the present. Because the fact is, as I said earlier, most people seem to be worrying about the future, churning the past, but not really there in the present. And it's so important to enjoy the present, because that's all life is. So that's my chocolate mindfulness exercise, and I hope that you enjoyed it. And I have to say that adversity is a great teacher. When people told me that cancer was a teacher, that I'd got cancer as a lesson, I really had to restrain myself from probably wanting to slap them in the face because I did get that from people when I went through cancer. But the fact is, adversity is a teacher. Because if your life were pretty okay, bumbling along, everything seems to be all right, nothing really changes, it's not an incentive to really live a full, authentic life, because you don't have a kick in the pants to make your life better. And adversity is definitely a kick in the pants to make your life better. And certainly for me, going through both infidelity and breast cancer tells you that you have an expiration date. Your life has an end point. So if you don't do it now, if you don't live the life you want now, when are you going to do it? Because it could end tomorrow. If you aren't doing it now, when are you going to start on the path to being the complete, creative, joyful you that you deserve to be? So I have to say that for me, if I could wave a magic wand and make the cancer and infidelity never have happened, I wouldn't do it, because I don't regret having gone through the experience, bleak and difficult though it was. I certainly have no desire whatsoever to go through it again, but I don't regret it, because regret is not about the past. It's about the present. And if you're happy with your life as it is now, you don't regret the past, because whatever has happened in the past has brought you right to the point you're at now. And that's an important point to remember. You don't have to have regret, because if you make your life the way you want it to be, then you're not going to regret what you did, because whatever you did, however good, however bad, however many mistakes you made, as all of us do, however many failures you had, as all of us have, if you're happy with the way you've made your life now, it doesn't matter. You don't regret it. It's brought you right to where you are now. So that's a very important thing to be aware of. I believe that had I not found out about my ex's infidelity, had I not had breast cancer, I would not be anywhere near the creative, happy person that I am now. I'm actually grateful to my husband and his mistress for what they did, even though I wasn't particularly grateful at the time, because I'm happier now than I was in the marriage, and I didn't even realize at the time that I wasn't particularly happy. And gratitude and forgiveness are a very important part of this in a way. Whatever abuse you've been through, whatever troubles you've had, you know, it doesn't mean that you put up with being treated like a doormat. That's not what I'm saying if you forgive somebody. But if you can't forgive somebody, and if you are living in a more revenge-oriented mindset, then that horror that's happened to you never stops having its hold on you. The mantra of the book I've written, Adulterer's Wife, How to Thrive Whether You Stay or Not, is that the best revenge is to get past the need for it. Revenge is a very, very toxic emotion that harms you as much as the other person. So whenever you've been wronged, you might want to have revenge on them, whether somebody's ripped you off financially, whether a partner has been unfaithful and treated you very badly. There's this desire to have revenge, but it is not where you want to put your energy. If you decided instead to put all that energy into moving on and making your life better than it was before, that is a much more positive step. So I had heard, when I was doing my research for my book, I had heard all these revenge stories. There was a contractor who was so angry with his wife for her infidelity that he filled her car with concrete. Everybody I tell that story to laughs and thinks it's a pretty amazing revenge story. Great, wow. But then where do you go from that? Definitely not reconciliation, and more likely an expensive, acrimonious divorce. And what role model are you for the children that you may have had together? You know, if you're treating your partner that way. And you're actually also even cutting off your nose to spite your face, because what if that had been a very expensive car that was part of your joint assets and you're getting divorced and splitting up your assets? Well, you have just destroyed something that you half owned, say, in terms of the divorce split. So people don't even think about their own best interests when they're on that emotional roller coaster, desperate to have revenge. And one of the things that I did when I was going through both the breast cancer and the infidelity was that I tried not to make snap decisions based on my emotions. It's very, very easy to do that. When you're angry with somebody, when you're angry about how somebody's treated you, you just want to get out there and just, oh, I'm just going to do this. But whatever you might decide to do on the spur of the moment based on your roller coaster of emotions may be really bad for you in the long run. So I made sure that whatever decisions I wanted to make, whatever actions I wanted to take, I stopped and thought, is this going to serve my own long-term best interests? So important. Whatever you do, is this going to serve my own long-term best interests? Really important, because you can make bad decisions right away, snap decisions right away that are very, very hard to undo. So step back, take some time to breathe and think, how is this going to affect me in the future? Is this the best way to proceed? Sometimes the best decision is not to make a decision until you're on a more even keel and you can make a good decision based on the rational and the facts rather than your emotions. That's what I found, and I found that to be very, very key and very, very critical to getting through a difficult time, both the breast cancer and the infidelity. So I'm just going to run through those 6 parts again, just so you know, just to do a recap. My 6-part plan for getting off that horrible emotional roller coaster. Number 1, confidants and mentors who have your best interests at heart. And maybe they can be people that you pay to see. Number 2, build a community of your own friends and cultivate connections old and new. Number 3, laughter therapy. Make sure that you laugh. You don't want to cry, you want to laugh. Find things that bring you up and make you laugh. Number 4, love your body. Look after it. Sleep enough. Look after your diet. Eat well. And exercise, especially outdoor exercise. Number 5, find a passion. Find something that you really enjoy doing and become more of a hedonist. Number 6, that's where the chocolate exercise comes in. Live in the present, or learn how to live more in the present. Because the past is gone, the future doesn't exist, all you have is the now. So that's the 6-part plan that I found very, very useful to get through the devastation, the dark days of dealing with my husband's infidelity and going through breast cancer for the 2nd time and dealing with chemo and radiation and all that horrible stuff. And I want to finish off by thanking everybody who's organized this amazing event. In particular, my dear friend Navi Bliss is an amazing relationship coach. I write about infidelity, I write about relationships, but I am not a therapist. I'm a journalist, and some people might say journalists are very good at talking about things they know nothing about, although I have done a lot of research on the subject. I've lived it viscerally, and I've read lots and lots of books on the subject. But if you want therapy, there are some fabulous people involved in this event. One of them is Navi Bliss, whom I have shared clubhouse rooms with, and she is terrific. She's just fabulous in terms of advice on how to get through any kind of relationship problems. And if you would like to have access to all the wonderful material of this Amplifying Voices for Women's Empowerment event, all you need to do is to pay 99 Canadian dollars, which is way less than American dollars, and you will have access to everything for a whole year. And I believe there are also some additional courses you're going to have access to. And the money is going to go to a very, very good cause. It's going to go to Dr. Roz's Healing Place Sanctuary to help abused women and children rebuild their lives. And Dr. Roz's Healing Place really does some amazing work, and they need as much support as you're willing to give them. So, whatever you've been through, there is hope. I'm proof of that, and my dear friend Navi Bliss is also proof of that, because she's been through much worse stuff than I have and come out, absolutely swinging and enthusiastic and helping so many people. So whatever you've been through, there is hope. Please remember that. If you feel like you're in an abyss now, just imagine how different things could be 6 months from now, 1 year from now, just from putting yourself first. That's what you need to do. Put yourself first. Try to do some of the things I've talked about in the 6-part plan, and you'll find that you will make a new you. You will be able to move towards living the authentic life that you deserve and become a more complete, creative, and joyful human being with or without a partner. That's what I always try to do with people. That's my aim. And I'm going to say it again. Your aim is to become a more complete, creative, and joyful human being with or without a partner. I'm CJ Grace, and if you want to find out more about what I do, I have a free PDF, Overcoming Infidelity: Tools to Tame the Roller Coaster of Negative Emotions. So that is available on my website. All you need to do is to go to cjauthor.com. cjauthor.com. My actual website is adulteraswife.com, which is a terrible name for a website because nobody can spell it, and there actually is another site spelled similarly that means the opposite, and it is a porn site. So what to do? I'm not going to change my website, but I do have a URL to get you straight to the page where I have my free PDF for you, and that is cjauthor.com. 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 That's easy enough to spell, I think. And if you want to find me on Instagram, I'm on Instagram at cjauthor. Sorry, that's wrong. CJ Grace Author on Instagram, and on Clubhouse, CJ Grace. So do look out for me there. You can join my Overcoming Infidelity Club on Clubhouse too, if you like. But I do hope that you will take advantage. Do visit my site, cjauthor.com, and pick up a copy of the free PDF to overcome infidelity and get off that emotional roller coaster. And those techniques will work for any kind of adversity that you're going through. And most important, if you liked that chocolate exercise, the chocolate exercise that I've gone through in this presentation is in my free PDF. So there you go. I'm afraid I do not provide the free chocolate. We haven't worked out how to do that yet through the internet. You're going to have to buy chocolate yourself to go with the exercise. But I do hope you take advantage of that free PDF. And I want to thank everybody who's organized this event for all the amazing speakers that they've put together and all the hard work to create this fundraiser. And thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of it. I'm honored to have been able to do this presentation.